So what I really love about doing these lives, and in particular this type of content on YouTube, is that I don't do any edits. I don't do any takeaways or edit anything new or anything like that. I just go straight from the hip and into the content because basically it is the resemblance and the essence of mixed martial arts. You only have one take to do something, and you only get one shot. Once you press that record button, it's literally like putting your record on the line. So as a result of that, we're going to talk about Ryan Garcia and his claims of, let's say, his family violating him. Okay, but first, before we do that, I want to talk about in the beginning where I had left off in part one. I mentioned that when it comes to boxing, there's very few gaps that you're allowed to have. In other words, you really have to be on point game tight when you're in that kind of sport, especially at the highest level, right? So when you have Ryan Garcia in his situation right now, you got to ask yourself, is he really doing himself any favors going into a training camp distracted? And then on top of that, he brings in all these other issues and all these other underlying subjects that really have nothing to do with his fighting career. So as a result of that, we also want to analyze and take a look at the problem that he has going on when it comes to, let's say, creating a whole bunch of swag with no substance. This is an important topic that I really want to bring up because I got to be honest with you guys. In certain religious communities, they emphasize a lot more on swag than they do with substance. Okay, so I never really wanted to make this about a Christian versus Muslim type of thing, but since Ryan Garcia sort of made it like that, and then he made racial implications of Devin Haney's hair and things of that nature, I really got to go there with that, right? Well, not really, because this is no disrespect to anyone's religion or anything like that, but let's just compare and match certain things, right? In certain religious denominations, I'm sorry to say, but the way that they attract you to their congregation, the way they attract you to, let's say, their, how do I say this, their place of worship, it's usually done out of swag. In other words, they'll say something to the effect of, well, Jesus is love, Moses is love, all these other prophets, etc., etc. They are all about love. Look, here's the problem with saying that, but really not showing any substance into some realities that some of these prophets have had to deal with. For example, did you know that Moses, even though he's a biblical figure, the man was also a military leader? Why? Because there were certain conflicts that Moses had to get into, peace be upon him, in order for him to follow the order of God, Allah, but not only that, also help the people of Israel in order to succeed in the battle that they had against oppression. Okay? Many people in certain religious denominations are going to be shy about telling you that. They just want to tell you that Jesus is love, Moses is love, Abraham is love, Noah is about love. But in reality, a lot of these guys have also had very harsh messages that they had to convey to the world. In other words, what I'm trying to tell you right now is that Ryan Garcia is doing literally none of that. He's not giving you any substance when it comes to trying to understand who it is that violated him and his family and why he's saying these things. By the way, I sort of have a theory into what exactly he means by this particular subject, and let me explain what it is. So he's saying that somebody in his family violated him. But in the same process, he also plays a trailer of a movie regarding some sort of scandal that had happened in a Catholic church. So you put two and two together. And by the way, let me just explain how embarrassing it is for his family to be put into all this, because I'm sure if any family members of Ryan Garcia had violated him, I'm sure that it's not all of them that did it, that it's a particular person or a particular set of people that have done this. The problem is He's not giving you any of that, and he's making his whole entire family a target as a result. Because anybody that knows anything about the gang cultures of LA that Ryan Garcia had came from, guess what? They don't tolerate that chomo child violating behavior to any degree. They don't do that at all. It is not tolerated at all. So, in other words, Ryan Garcia either has to just shut up about it, not say anything, or really just go out and say the names of the people that have done this, or allow the darkness of the alleys and the shadows of the underworld to be their friend in order to handle his business like a man behind closed doors. So, I got to tell you another thing. He went on this particular app and talked to Andrew Tate. A couple of people were in there. There was this one guy that was talking to him named Patriot something something, right? And he was saying something to the effect of, "Yeah, Ryan, we're with you, man. We stand with you. Our community stands with you." Which I thought to myself, this is a load of bollocks. I'm going to tell you why. Here's a man that is attracting these people of a different demographic space to become his fan base, but in reality, he's not offering them any substance as to his practice of his religion. In other words, he's not showing anything that shows he's not a hypocrite at it. He's also not showing any proof of anything that he's saying. And here's another thing, too. Ryan Garcia is becoming a virtue signaling artist based on these new conspiracies that he's trying to convey to the world. It is as if we don't know anything about the conspiracies that he is mentioned about. Of course, some of us don't. A lot of people out there are very uneducated. They don't read, they don't take the time to process new information or to challenge the old information that they have with them. But once again, what do you expect from somebody that deflects every time you question him about his training camp? By the way, going into the most dangerous fight of his life after just coming off of a knockout loss from Tank Davis, but not really doing too good in his comeback fight against Duarte, and now being in the shape that he's in with really lacking on a whole lot of dedication and just saying no to drugs and all these vices that he has to stay away from in a training camp. By the way, in the beginning in the ending of the part one, I had mentioned to you guys that boxing at the highest level is one of those sports that you can't have a margin of error in. And as a result, you've seen what happened with the Tank Davis fight because of that. Well, now Ryan Garcia is going into this fight with a whole bunch of excuses, a whole bunch of drama, self-induced and self-inflicted, on top of the fact that he's not even on his game when it comes to training for probably the toughest fight of his life. And once again, I have mentioned and emphasized this over and over again. When you look at Devin Haney, he is a Muslim brother who has no distractions when it comes to the vices of drinking, when it comes to the vices of women. I mean, I don't know if the guy is married or not, but that's not my business, neither here or there. I doubt that he's thinking about any of these things that Ryan Garcia is really obsessed with. He's obsessed with the fame. He's obsessed with gaining a new fan base in terms of spewing nothing but swag with no substance. And once again, that's an important message that I really want to convey with this. I got to tell you, as a Muslim, if we want to invite you to our congregation and to our own way of life, we're going to give you proof. Okay, we're not going to give you swag, so we're going to give you substance. In other words, as a Muslim, why should you be a Muslim? That is the question, right? Because if you're doing dawah or you're doing an evangelist work of some degree, you have to offer proof. Here's what I would offer to you as a Muslim. I would say, as a person who's read the Quran and understands that it is in the Arabic language that cannot be changed or altered and has been preserved over the years and has shown undeniable proof of prophecy after prophecy, this right here is a substance that I can give to somebody in terms of, well, why should you follow this? When it comes to Ryan Garcia, he uses Jesus as a way to deflect the hard questions. Oh, well, I don't want to talk about my training camp and why I'm smoking dope all day, or why I'm drinking or staying up all night having having all nighters, but rather I just want to talk about the children in Gaza. Great, welcome to the party. Where were you in October? Now you want to jump in the whole entire conversation and virtue signal your way into a new fan base. That's the reality of Ryan Garcia in a nutshell. Unfortunately, what he is trying to do is he is trying to garner attention, maybe in a positive way, but at the same time, really, it's fake. There's just a lot of fakeness that's involved in it. Do you guys not see any of that? Or do you guys just think that anybody that can just go out there and say Jesus, or say one thing or another, or say keywords, that they're going to get excited by it? That's why that Patriot guy on that app that he was talking to with Andrew Tate was talking about, yeah, we're with you, brother. What are you talking about? You're with Ryan Garcia. You've never watched any of his fights. And the only reason why, Patriot guy, you're out there trying to support the guy is because of the fact that he's saying certain things that's a keyword to getting your dopamine high. That's the reality of the situation. That's really what it is. And people don't like to accept that. People don't like to accept that there are just certain levels of virtue signaling that is going on here. And the thing is, nobody really wants to challenge that notion. At least not on his fan base side, and especially not his mother, who, by the way, is nothing more than an enabler. That's the reality of this whole situation. But you know what? Throughout all this 12 minutes that I have just been bashing Ryan Garcia, and the fact that I pride myself on being a very objective channel, because I'm human, I'm going to have my own biasness. Of course, I'm mad at the fact that Ryan Garcia went after Muslims. Of course, I'm angry at the fact that he said racial connotations towards Devin Haney's hair. Of course, I'm pretty upset at that. But at the same time, I'm going to be very objective, and I'm going to be very honest about this whole entire fiasco. And the reality of it is, if you're at the age of 25, where you have all this money in the world, you got all this fame, all this glory, right? In all honesty, you don't really know what you're going to do with it. There are a lot of people that I know that are in their mid 30s right now that have finally came up on some money after years of struggle. There are people out there who are in their 60s who are now living like millionaires after really working their butts off from the time that they were 18 to 30 up until their retirement age. Those people, even though they are new money, in reality, the experience that they had when they were poor at the years of 30 years old or 40 years old really allowed them to become responsible spenders, and not only that, methodical investors in a process. Whereas if you're young and you got all this money very early on, the unfortunate thing about it is that, well, let's just be real, okay? You don't know what you're going to do with it, and you don't know exactly how you're going to behave, because it is a new experience. It is a privileged experience, but not only that, it's an experience that really very few young people have ever experienced in their life. So, bottom line about it is, you can't really blame Ryan Garcia, but at the same time, it's just a matter of cultural practices and habits that really comes into play when understanding this whole situation. And what do I mean by that? For one, you take a look at Devin Haney's life. He grew up with a father, and yes, you can criticize the fact that his dad was the manager for Too Short. And if any of you guys listen to rap music out here in Northern California, by the way, check out the bridge right there of Sacramento, and right here in the riverfront of West Sacramento, overlooking Sacramento in the back. So as I was saying, if you guys have take a look at Too Short, the guy who was managed by Bill Haney, his music, I gotta be honest with you, it's degenerate to the highest order. You guys know Too Short. The guy raps about pimping. The guy raps about prostitution. Of course, he raps about gang stuff, but that's probably the least of the degenerate aspects of his music. But nonetheless, we can judge one man over the other. But one thing you got to say is that Devin Haney, Bill Haney's the father, was there for Devin since he was young. Okay, he had a father figure in his life. As much as you can say anything about that man, if anything else, he had a father figure in his life. So as a result, you're not seeing Devin Haney behaving in this kind of matter in this particular moment of time, are you? It's not what you're seeing. What you're seeing out of Devin Haney right now is a disciplined man, a very well trained champion, and somebody who is meticulous in his preparation. So, yes, it is one thing to say that money at his young age of 25 is an issue in and of itself, but really, it really starts from home when it comes to training your young ones on how to handle themselves in any situation. In a situation where they are poor and down on their luck, or when they are rich and high and almighty, and what they can do in the process of dealing with that type of power in their hands. That's the reality of this whole situation that we have with Ryan Garcia on his way to facing Devin Haney in the next coming months. So, inshallah, I hope you guys like and subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed this live. And I hope that I've given you guys the most objective take, but also my own opinions as well, which is very important to know and understand from the very beginning. So, guys, like and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed this view in the background right here. And I will see you guys soon, inshallah.